Hey everybody, this is the second half of Friday, June 6th. This is webinar number 69. Following Uncle Pete, we have Andy, who's going to talk more on the
Chatterbox.
DevCon pre-con number 3
DevCon, Chatterbox Con. We're going to
on
do
web
something here.
services.
Well,
Okay,
we're,
no? Okay,
No,
whatever.
yes, yeah, we're going to talk about web services. Yeah, absolutely right. We're going to talk about web services. We're going to talk about the desktop accessing the web services. We're going to talk about the classes a little bit. We're going to talk about what we're going to do at the DevCon and the reason why you should be there. And you can see that I'm actually working in both 17 and 18 both. So you're going to see some 18 code as well. One of the things that probably right off the bat everybody needs to understand is that we just got through with Pete. We're talking about some advanced things. We will be at DevCon the first at least a day discussing and going through the basics of these classes. We will go through the classes, what was developed with them. You'll have a copy of them. And these are open source classes, so anybody can get them. Don't get me wrong. But and we're going to we'll go through what they're used for, how they're used, why they're used, and the reason why you go through the classes and use them for the different platforms that we're developing for. So you have a common business functionality code based across all three. That's the idea behind this. And we get as absolutely close as what WINDEV or PCSoft will allow at this moment. Okay? So, Jerome, you've got your pencil and paper ready. So, in case you need any notes on this, I'll be sure to let you know and go from there. Now, we've gone through a couple of deals where we talked about the web service that we currently have running. And I'm going to go through one of the classes that we've got for the web service and what we're doing in it in order to do this and the conceptual reasons why we're going this direction. Okay, so let's first talk about the 10,000 foot view, the concepts of what we're doing with the Chatterbox and what we're trying to accomplish when it comes just say to a listing of the members for this instance. Number one is we have a central repository, whether it be one server or multiple servers being replicated, but we have a central repository for all the data. That means that every individual that is connecting to the Chatterbox, no matter what methodology, will get to the same data and will get to the same chats. Okay. Now, the issue with that is that depending upon where you are in our great big wonderful world, your speed of accessing that data can be an issue. We tried this and worked with something earlier on, and South Africa had an issue with speed as well as Australia. I think it was a cost issue in South Africa as well. So the idea of the web services now is to, one, have the direct capability of getting the data, searching, things like this, but also allow you, depending upon where you are in the world, to set up a hyperfile client server and allow people to subscribe in it for a regional methodology, and things will be synchronized back and forth to that server, and you can connect locally to yours, or you can set it up personally on your machine, on your own personal machine. And what it would do is use the web services to get the data that you haven't gotten yet and update your local hyperfile client server or update the regional one, and you can access it. Now, by doing this, that means that you got several different databases that you're dealing with. They got to be synchronized, which we're going to use the synchronization tool to do some of that. We're going to be going back and forth, but mainly what I want to be able to do is when I connect, I want to be able to, in the background, download everything that's currently going on, and then if I'm offline because I'm traveling or something like this, I can peruse the data just like I do a news group, download, put it up when I come back online, send all my answers, questions, whatever I want. Merry Christmas, everybody's happy. Web services to me has probably one of the biggest ways to solve that problem. Web services can be built in WINDEV. Does not have to be built in WebDev. So I don't necessarily need to have WebDev to have web services to work with WinDev and mobile. I do need to have it WebDev to work with a web page, obviously, and I do need the WAS server in order to work with the web services itself. I do need both of those. Okay, but WebDev is not a prerequisite at this time. You can do it this way. So we've built a set of classes, and we're going to go through the member class and the members rec class. Now, you've seen this is much, much more simpler than what you've been looking at with Pete, because all it is a methodology of saying, here's my members rec class, which allows me to update and collect all the information for one single member, and this is the array of all of those members. I set the array field, and I set what my primary key is for the database, and there is my select statement for the members. If I don't send a where clause or a filter string, as you can see, I get all of them. I get every one of them. It doesn't matter. There are 3 methods to fetch this data, or basically. Those 3 messages is that if I know I've got a fairly small list of information, I'll just do a file to array. That works fine upwards to somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 to 1,000 records. It works pretty quick. I've tried 5,000 and 10,000. It was not bad. When I got over 10,000, then it was a little bit slow. So in order to accomplish, when you were dealing with, say, 100,000 records, 200,000 records, much, much larger deal, we've set another case type of fetch data page, which tells you that I want to fetch 100 records at a time, or 500 records at a time, or however many you want to fetch. And in essence, what it does is it brings to your screen a page at a time, and in the background, in a thread, you can continue to fill that with multiple pages. So it allows you to go ahead and start what you're doing, start your work, and that few seconds while they're looking at the screen and looking at the first page, it's already filled in another 10, 15,000 records in the background, and they don't think it went away and went to sleep for 2 or 3 minutes. The last one is if I need to do things to the record on the way in, I could actually move in 1 record at a time if I wanted to do so. Okay? If you don't specify anything, it's going to do a file array. That is it. That's the entire class right there. There's just nothing more to it. This is the basics class. We can go through some of the other things, and we may do that later on, and we'll definitely do that at DEFCON. But right now, this is the basics. This is it in a nutshell. So I'm able with this to blow through and get all of the members. Now, for the members rec class, this is where you get much more in depth. This is where I can set up certain things like the properties. I've got my record save. I've got all the different information that I need to have. And I've got the listing of the fields actually from the table here. So I've got the sysid, the password, nickname, member name, member since, different information with it. And I have set up, and even this one is real small as well. That's all it is. Now there's your basic two. That's the most simplistic way to give me the data. Okay. Now what happens here, if I don't send a where clause, and I am running this, I believe I have that here. If I run this from the server, this is the fetch members method, and we're going to get into that in just a second, and I say send me back as XML. If I hit the test, then I get every bit of those class members and all of the data from there. Bam, I've got all of it in one shot. I can send it to somebody. What I usually do is send it as buffer, so it's much, much tighter, but is much harder to read since all it is that. It's Chinese. So obviously, that's not good. So you've got two different methods. So if you got somebody else writes a program and wants to access your data by whatever reason, you can tell them to send XML, and it will return you an XML stream that you can parse and work with as you desire. So somebody creates a PHP site, as an example, or something like that that wants to redisplay the data, you can give them the option. How is that done? That is done in the procedures of fetch members. Now, here's where we talk about the structure versus the class. You can literally pass the entire class back to whoever is calling it. But why? It's only the data that they care about. The class is only really utilized, or methodologies within the class are only utilized to do the CRUD actions, basically allow you to add, change, delete, do whatever you need to that particular record. If I'm transferring the data, the basic structure I need there is just the record itself. I don't need anything more than that. So I make a specific set of structures just for that. I declare the member rec class so I can get to it. I declare a structure that I want to send back, which has, for the language, which allows me to do multiple languages. I can actually send back messages in multiple languages that way. Then I have my member data structure, which has all my fields in it, just like the class. And then I have my return structure, which is the array of the member data structure here, and a return of the messages, which is the language messages above. When I do that, I declare the member class, I fetch the data. Now this is fetching all of it. I'm not sending a where clause at the moment, so basically I don't have a where clause, but I'm fetching all of the data. Then as I loop through that, I deep assign, as that's what we call it, or we move the fields itself into the local structure and add it to the return array. If I got an array count of 0, then I set up some languages of saying unable to fetch. I've got Spanish, English, and French at the moment. And if anybody that's French looks at that statement and says, that don't look right, you need to tell me the difference, because all I do is Google Translate.
If I may?
So if it looks bad, you need to let me know.
Fabrice raised his hand there, Andy.
Yeah.
I cannot see that stuff.
Just another reason why you would want to use a structure there and not the original class. By using a structure, you're putting a layer of exclusion between the two, which means that if you are changing the analysis on the development side, you're not going to break your transfer protocol just because you are changing the analysis. Here we want to send the data back to everybody in the world. If we decide to add a flag of anything in the file, we don't want everybody to have to redo their transport protocol just because we did something, a change internally.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So this allows us the greatest amount of flexibility back to the individuals, is what it does. Then based upon how they sent it, you remember I did XML as one and then buffer as the other. It serializes it based upon which direction that I have it, and then sends it back. That's all it does. We're done with the web service. So now that sends back every bit of the data. So let's look at our application that we've been under destruction with, and I'm going to call it that because I'm basically destroying things from a previous version and building this one. I have a set of classes for it as well. Those classes are the same classes in essence that we had there. As you can see, it is almost exactly the same, not much different at all. That record manager class is there, and there is my members class. Now, the only difference is that my local's members class has a little bit more information in it. Okay? The reason why we're doing these on the classes here, because you're saying, well, I've just got the data, why not just display the data? You're absolutely correct. You could do that, but if you're one of the individuals that in the setup of this says, I want to store my data locally so I have a history of everything that's going on, well, then you want all of the CRUD functionality that the arrays and the classes and stuff give you, and this will allow that to happen. So now, in essence, the only thing I'm doing instead of a fetch from the database, I'm doing an initial fetch from the web service and filling in the database. Okay, so there's couple, three things that we'll do in here. Number one, we're gonna look and get the data from the local database. Then we're gonna fetch from the web service of everything that we don't have, and we're gonna put them both in the array. And whatever we don't have, we're gonna update the local database with. Okay, so now we have some standard structures, and the biggest thing is that when you're dealing with classes, abstract methods is a little bit easier to work with than non-abstract methods because you don't have to remember a bunch of different names. Basically, everything comes back the same. I have a return message structure. I have a return data record structure. I have a return data set structure. That's what I have. Now, the only difference is the fields in my return data structure is the same as what is coming back from the web service. So I have that same structure there. Then I have my class. This is all done above the class. Structures have to be declared above the class. And then I have those, the normal rec as member class, dynamic, and my array. This is my local statement for my local hyperfile client server, which allows me to select the information from my local database for the members, just the same as the web service, almost exactly the same as the web service, with exactly the same type of functionality here. The difference is I have a couple more items down here at the bottom. I have fetch web service. Now, let's say that you're one of the individuals, you're in the U.S., so running it straight from the web service is fine with you. I don't need a local database. Basically, all I'm going to do is use the web service for the entire thing, and I'll show you what happens when we have that coded for the members. I have declared my return message structure. I've declared my return data structure. I've instantiated a new members rec class. I've returned my received data. I've got my buffer for my data stream, and I got my this is for testing there. And I go fetch the members, sending the buffer to the data stream. What happens here is when this comes back, that piece right there holds that XML structure that you saw in Chinese. That's what gets stored in there is this. The deserialization from the data stream to the received data then unpacks that and puts it into the two arrays. And I got the two arrays. Then what I do is for each data record of that received data, I deep assign it back to my local structure, and I add it to the array. Okay. Code-wise, let's see here. That's not what I want. Yeah, that's what I want. Code-wise, this is all it does. That's all that work right there is all it needs right there. All I'm doing is calling fetch web service. And that does everything. Oh, by the way, Jerome, here's your notes. See this? This has every one of the items that you have embed points in your system. Do you see an all? I don't see an all. I literally have to go back here and drop this down to get the all. And I'm sure you guys have heard something about that. I'm sure I'm not the only one that hasn't said anything about that. So, going through this, show it again, please. Sure. Why do you want to? Okay. Up here under the code, Jerome, when you drop this list, it gives you every one of the points of entry that you can write code, every one of them. Okay? But there's not an all. Okay, so you have to go back to the old menuing items back in the version 17 type. Then you have still the same set of code, but you have the all at the top, so you can get to the top. And that allows me then I can get to the top section if I wanted to, get to the global declarations. Otherwise, I couldn't. Okay, that just I hit that and went, huh? Anyway, let's run through this code now and show how this works. So we go through this, and let me get this out of the way. I'm sitting here on the web services. If I hit the next button, I am now currently in that fetch web services. I go through it. I want to go down to here. Let's go ahead. It's already down here in the data stream, so I can hit the go to go down to it and get through all that stuff. All right, we're going to look at the data stream. When it comes back, the data stream itself is this. It's, of course, it's all binary data or hexadecimal data. If I deserialize it, now I have the received data structure, which has my two arrays. It has my array of 44 records, which is the number of records I have in there. And then I have no messages coming back, so that array is empty. But I've got both arrays in there as one shot. Okay. Then the last thing you do is we'll let it go ahead and go through the data array and process all of that into our local structure. And what we have now is we have the listing of everybody's name. Hit the go button again. So now everybody's name is in here. We can see everybody's name. Simple as that. If we were running this at real time to show you how fast it is, because sometimes you think they may be slower versus direct access, I'm beginning to believe that that's incorrect. I think that the web services is as fast because I'm sending a blast of data at one shot. See, look at this. I mean, we're back already. Let me hit the other go button. And blam, there's your screen, and bam, there's your data. Now that server is in Dallas, and I am in Tennessee, somewhere around 900 miles away. Okay? So I get all of that data now via the web service. Now, if I had it turned on to say store locally, the local client server database that I have over here on my other database is going to get filled with that data, and I'll have every bit of that. I'll have every bit of that. So the idea behind this is that as we go through this newsgroup chatter, and we'll do the same thing when we're talking about, yeah, we're going to have errors all over this thing because like I said, I'm tearing it apart. The web page and things like that is all going to have this as well. And we're going to go through it. One of the cool things, and Jerome, you can say kudos back there to the boys for this one. I love this. Being able to do the button with the drop down, that is just, I like that. I do like that. I really like that. We're going to be able to do a lot with that. So I'm real happy about that. But let's go through a little bit more of the classes, then I'll cut this off, and we'll talk a little bit about the DEF CON on what we're going to go through. Fabrice, if you've got a few minutes to talk about what you're going to go through, I'd appreciate it as well. But the classes is most of the stuff that you'll be working with. Everything is really done in the background. So a lot of these items that you see here is all based upon being able to work with your local database and doing the data. There's a lot of things that's done automatically, and all I'm going to do as one of the global procedures here is I have fetch, that's not it, it's fetch messages. This area right here is going to be running in the background, and what it's going to be doing is doing nothing more than going out to the web service if you have that turned on and fetching data and updating those array variables. That's all it's going to be doing. So in the background, this thing's processing away, getting the information that you want without any interaction, and you're sitting there going, okay, you got all your data, but that's what it is. This is going to be a threaded procedure, is what the fetch message is in, updating everything that needs to go on to keep you up to date. This is going to be the same concept that's going to be used on the web. A lot of these same procedures are going to be used on the web. And it's going to be doing a lot of background processing, just posting things up and allowing you to work on it. There will not be as much, okay, there will not be as much on the mobile because it's not allowed. Here's the thing that I want to talk about a little bit about these classes and how we're using them across multiple environments. Give you an example. Actually, the best one is the error class. Okay. Okay. As you can see, I've got the error class set up where I have the conditional code. 32-bit Windows, 64.NET, WebDev site, service, 32-bit and 64-bit service. But you don't see mobile in there. You don't have an ability to do an execute query to an SQL statement on a mobile device, or at least you didn't. You can go do it now as a direct access to hyperfile, but you didn't at the time that I wrote the first section of this. So in essence, this would exclude this code, even though I have it on the mobile device, from ever executing. It would not. When I compile this, it won't compile that piece in there. Same thing with the trace. I don't have a test write results for the automated in some of these things, and I don't have a trace. So bottom line is I only put in the conditionals of what I want in there when I compile it based upon that. So what I'm doing here is as I go through this and the limitations from the mobile to the web to the desktop, and there's not as many limitations between the mobile and between the web and the desktop. There are more limitations between the mobile and desktop and web. All I need to do is tell it and give it a conditional code section to deal with whichever one I need to deal with. It certainly allows me a lot more flexibility because my classes don't have to change. I don't have to change the code based upon where I'm at. All I have to do is change. I keep up with the code that I want to have in that particular environment. So I can use this same class on the mobile. I can use this same class on the web. All three of them work the same. So a couple things to take a look at and as you move forward with what you're doing. Whether you're using classes or not, the conditional code is a powerful tool, irrelevant. So you need to use it anyway. You need to look at it and say, hey, I'm going to develop for the web and I'm going to develop for the desktop. You may have specific items that you need to have for the web that you don't have on the desktop based upon that environment. Conditional code is the best method to do that with. So that's something to take a look at. If you're going to take away any tidbit out of this bunch, this is it. Okay. Number two, the DevCon. It is in the last week of August. You really need to be there if you're struggling, if you're working with this. We are going to go from basics to advanced in that. Fabrice has been around WINDEV for a lot of years, so he's run the gauntlet as some of us has done in our previous lives. Ran the gauntlet and knows a lot of the things on all the pitfalls and different areas to get around different things, and probably could answer a lot of questions.
Andy, you might want to bring up the website while you're talking about this. Tim, what's that?
Yeah, I'll do that.
WxDevCon.com.
What is it?
As soon as he finds which of his 50 icons that is.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry to slow down the talk, but
that's all right. But what we're going to do is the first day the first day, first morning, we're going to go through in detail the management classes. Then we're going to go through the web services. Then we're going to go through the WinDev, WebDev, and then we're going to go through the mobile. You will have the software. I'm trying to finish up 2 more things, and another batch of the software will be out Sunday. I'm trying to get it where it just doesn't blow up all the time, because I'm having to rip out a bunch of code that I had in here previously, and then looking at user interface type issues. So
Yeah.
it's a work in progress. Anybody that is going to DevCon, do understand it's work in progress. If you have questions at it, if you come to the DevCon and have questions about why did you do it this way, Andy, or why did you do it this way, Pete, that's what these sessions are for, is to kind of introduce you what we're doing and allow you to ask the questions, why did you do this and why did you do that? But that's the 2 reasons behind it. Fabrice, you have a kind of a listing of what you're going to be discussing in the afternoons. Is that correct,
a little
sir?
bit on that so you can see the schedule?
Sure.
Yeah. Thank
There's
you.
the schedule. Okay, go ahead, Fabrice. We'll allow you. You get after.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? Okay, good. So I have 3 afternoons to talk to you about lots of things, so I'll try to cram as much as possible as I can. The first afternoon is going to be general about WinDev. The first part will be best practices with the tools. It's not something that is issued from PCSoft. It's my best practices. I've been using this tool for about 20 years now, so it's just something that is working for me, and I think that it can work for a lot of people too. So how to use the tools, what to do, what not to do, what are the pitfalls here and there. So it's a lot of general stuff. Then I will talk about object-oriented programming, so classes. And I will try to go at a much lower level than what you've seen today, of course, because today was kind of already advanced stuff. But really, this part is going to be about how you switch from procedural programming to object programming without feeling too much pain. That's something that I had to do some years back, because I was not programming in object at the beginning. I'm too old for that, clearly. So I learned a lot at that time, and I can help you switch to object when it's necessary, when it's helpful for you, and not stress about it. After that, we'll start with the external tools. WinDev in particular is extremely open to the external world, so we'll start with OLE automation. And there will be an example on how to use that to access external programs. Then the next afternoon, it will be more extreme stuff, more advanced stuff with WinDev, ActiveX management. There will be also a session on how to use .NET assemblies in WinDev, and also something about consuming RSS feeds. So really being able to access the outside world from inside WinDev. And I will have a session also about the session that I prefer in the new hundreds of features that version 18 is bringing us. That again is going to be my choice, not any official thing. So you will be perfectly allowed to disagree with me. There's no problem there. But I will tell you what is my preferred new feature, and especially why, what it is going to give me in the future. The last afternoon is going to be about WebDev, and not basic stuff here. It's going to be advanced WebDev. In particular, there will be a big session about AWP development, which is quite different to what we've seen this morning. But it is the mode that you have to use when you want to have general population website, something that can grow to a very large number of users, and at the same time can be referenced easily by search engines. So there will be a lot of tricks and a lot of things that you have to code yourself. And in fact, for the people who will be there, they will have my code to do that, so there will be a big jump in productivity, clearly. But that's all. At that point, it's better if you already know a little about web dev. Otherwise, you may be a little lost on that one. And also on that afternoon, there will be a session about how to use JavaScript in web dev, because that's also one of the way where you're going to really push the envelope and access external things. Really be able to link your web dev development to existing tools, whatever they may be. So that's what I'm going to be talking about during my free afternoons. Just remember also, I will be there from the first day of the conference to the last, and when I'm not presenting my own stuff, I will try to help around, and of course I'll be available to answer any kind of question that you may have.
Wonderful. That's great. I'm glad to have you there. Really. I think it's going to be fantastic.
I'm looking forward to the AWP stuff for sure, because I actually started with an AWP site as my first website in WebDev, and quickly decided that I needed to back up the train and figure out WebDev before I got into AWP.
Yeah, that was a wise decision.
Yeah, it's going to be a great conference. There's going to be a lot of information there to walk away from, walk away with, and you're going to have source code to walk away with also. And we're going to obviously have documentation in our code. We're probably going to fuss at each other to make sure that we have the documentation in our code so you can understand what's going on.
My code, so.
But that is a lie, son. So. As much as mine is, Pete. This is why Pete and I work together, because I do know how to read his code and he knows how to read mine. He's been doing it a few years, but in essence, I think that this is something that we'd love to have somebody from PC Soft there. That would be fantastic, Jerome. It would be great. One of the best things that would happen is the Saturday afternoon Texas barbecue, because I'm cooking 2 briskets and it's going to be good. And take that from an old fat man.
How big's the brisket?
But part of the deal is yeah, that's right. I can promise you that all of these items from Glenn Rathke's Fundamentals Boot Camp, to get you past some of the beginner stuff, get you past some of the refreshment stuff to refresh your memory on things and stuff like that, is all there. That would be if you're having issues with kind of getting your head around some of the functionality and functions of PC Soft and some of the things you can do in there. He's the one that kind of started us all off on different things. So. I'm really appreciative of what he's done with me, and then we get off into more advanced. The Chatterbox is going to be a open source program, so everybody can get into. Number 2 is it's going to be the replacement for our Skype chat when it's all said and done. It will be the replacement for our Skype chat. So at the moment, I would certainly keep that in mind. So feedback as we go through these sessions of features, as we get a little further along, feedback on the sessions and stuff would be a good way to let us know what's going on or what you want in the system. But I would say that I'm going to be working on it hard and heavy for the next couple of days, and we should have viable WINDEV functionality by the time I release it, source code again Sunday, and everybody fusses at me for not doing it, but we'll have some there. Now, the only one that gets the source code for right now, the only ones that get the source codes are those that have signed up for the WxDevCon. They're the only ones that get the source code. So it's not open source code. It's open to those that are attending, and that way they can look through it and understand what we're doing and get their heads up on it. Other than that, I want everybody to be good or be good at it. Enjoy your weekend. It's supposed to be sunshine here in Tennessee, so me and my Harley may be riding around and not caring about the world. We shall see. But bottom line, y'all have fun now, okay? Arnold, take her away, son.
Hey, okay, this is a great one, and I feel that our webinars are going to grow, Andy, because of today's type of talks and having Fabrice here and Jerome. So everybody, thank you for coming, and we'll see you next week. But look into DevCon. www. Tim, www.
www.WxDevCon 2013. Tim, you alive, son?
Tim? Oh, I got to give him a mic.
He typed it in the chat.
There we go.
Yeah. Let Tim talk.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we can.
So here's your DevCon.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot, everybody, and that was a great session today. I didn't get to see all of it, but it was exciting to have everybody here. Jerome, thank you very much. Fabrice, thank you very much. And as always, Arnold, Pete, and Andy, thank you very much for all you all do. It's going to be a great conference.
Mm-hmm.
Don't miss out. Sign up.
You betcha. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now.
Thanks a lot.